We all know that America's cultural landscape seems to be ever shifting, and that, of course, can be a pretty unsettling thing. And what we need now more than ever are the transcendent truths of God's word and some dangerous friends that have our backs. Come join an incredible lineup of speakers, including Pastor Michael Foster, Rosaria Butterfield, Jamie Bambrick, the Blaze TV's own Steve Dace, and more for Clear Truth Media's 2025 conference, Dangerous Friends. The conference is March 13th and 14th at Redemption Church in Monclova, Ohio, just outside Toledo. I'll be there as well with a podcasting booth, along with my friend Greg Moore from the Dead Men Walking podcast and my good friend Parker Brown from the Watch Well podcast. So come spend a few days in Ohio with your dangerous friends and come by my booth and say hello to get your free CivEccly Minded gift. To purchase tickets or for more information, go to dangerousfriends25.com. Be sure to enter promo code CivEccly25 for $25 off your tickets. Well, welcome to CivEccly Minded and the Right Wing. I'm Corey Wing. We are going to be live streaming here with the 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and the inauguration. What an auspicious day. I got my buddy Parker Brown from the Watch Well podcast already with us. We're going to have some other folks popping in and out. Monday afternoon is a little bit of a difficult day to do a live stream, so sorry that it's not just full of awesome people on the screen, but hopefully we'll get some other people to add. I'm going to be quiet now and let us go ahead and listen for a little bit, and then we'll comment throughout the whole morning. All right, here we go. Swearing in.
Here we go. We've got it. He's swearing in, man.
It's happening.
It is happening.
The office of President of the United States. The office of President of the United States. And will, to the best of my ability. And will, to the best of my ability. Preserve, protect, and defend.
That's right.
That's right, man.
Constitution of the United States.
It is interesting that it's all inside.
It is. Yeah,
It's a different feel.
Normally it's outside.
There it is.
Hustling. That's right. Our
Yep.
47th president, baby.
And we got a handshake from Joe.
He just thought it was like the ice cream man. So
Yeah, he did. He's
didn't know.
looking. Yep. There we go. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, baby.
So we're looking forward to gas prices going back down.
Looking forward to that. Looking forward to some interest rates regulating a little better, whether that's up or down. Honestly, I would take just some stability. Brandon, can you hear us at this point, buddy?
Yes, I can.
Right.
Nice.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah,
We can. So everyone, this is Brandon Wood. He has just recently come out of kind of behind the scenes. He is the man behind the curtain at Eschatology Matters. And he, like Parker said, is basically a Nephilim. He's about 7'9", and had he been living, he'd have probably went up against Goliath just mano a mano.
Oh yeah, I would have looked him right in the eyes for sure. So you
Trump
guys
is
are gonna have
officially
to.
Go ahead, Brandon. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh
cut you off.
no, bro, go.
No, I was just gonna say, Trump is officially the president of the
That's right.
United States at this moment.
Yep. Oath of office has been taken.
Yep. And Brandon, I'm actually interested. What are like your top two or three most excited I guess changes in a Trump second term that you're looking forward to?
That's a good question. I mean, right off the top of my head, I'm excited about someone actively pushing against wokeism instead of promoting it. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest benefits right up front. I think economically, because of his track record, I think there's going to be a boost to the economy. Now, I do think there's going to be bumps on that road because there are actual problems in our economy, and it's going to take more than optimism to fix that. But I do think it's definitely going to be an injection of energy and optimism into that. And
yeah, and we're already feeling that, right? I mean,
yeah,
you can sense it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is going to be actually what the Democrats decide to do that are in Congress. Are they going to, if they choose to, and I don't think they're going to do this, but if they choose to double down and keep pushing harder and harder left, which would be political suicide at this point, then Trump's going to have a harder time. But I think they're going to actually move towards being more populist, because I think that they can sense what time it is. And one of the big reasons I think this is because of what Mark Zuckerberg has come out and said publicly. So if they're obviously they've lost dinosaur media, everyone knows it's going to be completely dead in 10 years. And if they've lost in the podcast world, and if they lose all the social media platforms, which they're starting to do, they know that they've got nothing left. So I think they have to pivot at this point. And so I think that's going to be the biggest thing in the next 100 days is what are the Democrats going to do?
Yeah, and they've been kind of quiet lately, that they've been all about this like unity stuff and their peaceful transition of power and which is good on its face superficially, but you kind of always wonder what's the play, Corey, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I do. I think the first 100 days are going to be a blitz. I think that I'm not a huge fan of executive order stuff. I think the Constitution tells us how laws are supposed to be, made, and it's by the legislative branch, not the executive. However, we are living in a day and an age, really even during the second the second Bush Jr.'s administration, we started to see some of that. Obama really ramped it up. Of course, Trump, and then Biden, and now Trump again. So we're living in a day and an age where executive orders have become really commonplace. So I'm expecting some even today, and I mean that. I think he's going to hand down some executive orders yet today. I think the first 100 days will be an absolute smash mouth blitz, and he's going to try to get as much stuff jammed through in 100 days as humanly possible. But I do think Dan Bongino said about a month or so ago, maybe 2 months ago, that everyone says, well, you got 4 years. Well, not on a lame duck presidency. You really have about 2 years, because you get the midterms that come up, after that first 2 years. So, and midterms historically go for the opposition party. So really we have 2 years to do as much as we possibly can to get as much change done. I'm probably super excited about Doge. I'd like to see the Department of Government Efficiency do exactly what they said. There's now some saying that Vivek is backing away from it and not going to be involved. I hate to see that. If that's true, that's unfortunate, because he may go for a Ohio gubernatorial bid. So you up there in Ohio, keep an eye on a Vivek Ramaswamy gubernatorial bid.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, I'm in Ohio, so I'm excited for that one for sure.
And then, so I'd say, I would say that, I'm pretty excited about getting some of the illegal immigration under control. I mean, I know that that's not popular to talk about, but, people that I know that are a little more close to Washington, D.C. in that area have said that the numbers, of course, and we all knew this, that the numbers that the Biden administration were putting out were low, that there's probably been 15 to 20 million illegal immigrants in the last 4 years alone. Well, no society can sustain that kind of an influx. You can't assimilate that many people in that short a time. You don't have the infrastructure to support all their needs. So there's a lot of stuff I'm looking forward to. How about you?
Go ahead, Brandon. I want to hear more from you, brother.
Well, I'm interested, Parker, in what I haven't heard. Okay. If you want let's pivot here for just a second. Have you guys talked about TikTok yet?
No, not yet.
No.
Okay. So what do you think, Trump? You think Trump's going to cut a deal and get TikTok to stay, or do you think it's out on its way out?
Oh, I think he'll get it to stay. I know. I watched his rally speech last night. He said the only way that he's negotiating with ByteDance is that they would sell 50% to an American company. I think they'll agree to that because, again, we're just too big of a consumer of TikTok for them not to want to.
Right.
And everyone will forget that he was the one that initially said that he wanted it gone. So I mean, that'll all disappear. People will just care that he saved it.
Yeah, and I also think that it's important to remember that he said he wanted it gone because, China has a majority of control of the app, and if there's an American company, invested in American interest that has a say, then I think it does kind of change things. He's taking it, at least from what it sounded like, from what I heard, it sounded like he was taking a different angle on it and making it more about American creators and jobs lost, and these I think he's kind of realizing now, especially after Barron got him on the podcast train to help win the election and get to the younger voter. I think he's noticing that TikTok is an influential thing to have around. So I think that from that angle, it does kind of make sense, especially if he can get it underneath, at least some American say in there for those various reasons. So
Our sovereignty will be reclaimed.
No, I agree. I think that I think a lot of his cabinet positions are actually going to get pushed through. I know there's a ton of folks acting like that, a bunch of them are very controversial. They're not, and I agree with Brandon. I think that we're going to see something more akin to the second Clinton administration. And if you're old enough, which Brandon and I both are, if you're old enough to remember the second Clinton administration, Newt Gingrich was speaker, but it was pretty friendly. I mean, honestly, they kind of decided in that second Clinton administration to get along and try to govern. And I always appreciated that about both President Clinton and Newt Gingrich as the speaker, is they just kind of said, look, let's do what we're here to do, and that's govern the American people. So I tend to agree. I think that this is going to be more a little bit more friendly than it's been in the last 10 years, probably.
yeah,
Probably
yeah, go ahead, Brandon. Probably longer.
Oh, I was gonna say I would say at least 20 years, because the George W. Bush, that wasn't pretty for a lot of that.
Certainly his second term, I would agree. His first term, because of 9/11, people rallied around him there for a little bit. But by his second term, it was ugly. Yeah.
Another thing about that second term with Bill Clinton was that the parties weren't nearly as far apart back then. We have to remember that it was the Clinton and the Democrats that helped do the Defense of Marriage Act. And so if you could just imagine today, but again, is the Democratic Party going to pivot more towards the center again? Because maybe, I think, Corey, you might have a point that if they pivot more towards the center, and obviously the Republican Party is moving more towards the center, then you may have a pretty less divisive administration this time around. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Trump's making a lot of things happen even before today. So it's just interesting to see, all the major health, big pharma, the food industry and all those guys, they're getting into all these major meetings. And I think there's been a couple of things that have been banned, and they could see the writing on the wall with the entrance of this new administration. So it's just super interesting to see all these things start, happening, domino effect, leading up to the inauguration.
Now, we've got about 37 people currently watching. That's on X. So thank you guys for watching. If you want to, comment and things, we'd love to see that. We got kicked off YouTube because we were quiet during the invocation. So YouTube doesn't like when you're live streaming something to be too quiet, because then they say that you're doing stuff that's,
malicious or something.
Yeah. You're not giving, in this case, CNN their credit. So thank you, CNN, for letting us piggyback off of your Inauguration Day coverage, and we'll be sure to kind of. So if you wonder why we keep talking, it is because the powers that be don't like you to get quiet for too terribly long.
Yeah, I also think, Corey, if you want to bring us in and bring the video out and kind of do that whole thing, it kind of helps.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But I mean, he's talking right now, so I think we could probably listen for a little bit and then keep talking, because I also want to pick your guys' brain on Doge and what you think that's gonna bring with Elon and yeah, a few other
well,
things.
did you guys watch the rally event last night?
Yeah, I watched a little bit, and then I also posted a funny highlight video. If you guys are
Yeah,
interested,
I
go
saw that.
check that
I
video
did
out. It's
see that
pretty
this
fun,
morning.
man.
The so the rally, you know, he was kind of name dropping a lot of people when he first came out, and he name dropped Elon and his young son X, which is
Mhm.
his youngest son's name. Elon and X came out on stage and actually kind of Elon talked for just a couple of minutes. So Elon seems to be positioned pretty closely to the crown of power. There's a lot of closeness there, it seems. So some people seem very sketched out by that, but other folks seem to be pretty comfortable with it. So we'll just have to wait and see kind of what happens on their relationship.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I think we lost Brandon.
Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to
Oh yeah,
freedom and indeed to take my life.
he's looking pretty good today. Got to
Yeah,
give him credit.
I think he's talking about the assassination right now, the assassination attempt, and what they're willing to go, like the opposition's willing to go to
But I felt
hang on to their own power.
that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to
Yeah,
There we go.
again.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's definitely true, right?
That's absolutely true. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're giving our president and his lovely wife and his handsome yet very Nephilim-like son a little extra screen time here.
Gotcha. Sorry, guys. I was trying to share this on X, and I didn't realize if I minimized it, it would just take me right out of the chat. So
Oh no, you're good, brother.
I'm learning. I'm a newbie. This is my first time. So
We're all learning together. So I'm letting you guys share it to X, and I am not. So you guys
well,
have a
what's
much
up
bigger X account anyway.
well, what's up with that, Corey? Come on
Well,
now.
I was doing YouTube, and then I screwed the pooch on that. So
I thought I was the only one that used that term. I haven't used that in forever, but
you realize
you don't hear.
I'm from Indiana as well, right?
Yeah. Parker, are you originally from Indiana, right?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
so we got three Hoosiers on here. I didn't realize that.
that's right.
Yep.
Well, I mean, that's what makes us the best, right?
Yeah, actually, I
Yes.
want to ask you guys your opinion here real quick. I know he's talking about the assassination and stuff, but I want to reflect back to his speech at the rally and the most recent, pre-inaugural rally or whatever, and he talked about the Iron Dome and how he was going to build one for America. What do you guys think about that?
Go ahead, Brandon.
This is my first time hearing of that. I'm actually way out of the loop on pretty much everything. But I mean, I feel like it's unlikely that he would actually accomplish that. I think that there's so much domestic stuff going on that, I mean, that sounds cool, but I mean, maybe he'll lay some of the foundational pieces for that, but I just don't see it happening anytime soon. I don't know what your thoughts are, Corey.
I'm a little more optimistic than that. I'll be honest. I think that because of the balloon crap that happened over the last year, with Chinese balloons traversing the entire, width of our country, and especially if good old Pete Hegseth becomes our next Secretary of Defense, and Kristi Noem as Secretary of Homeland Security, I think that they are both bullish enough that I think it could at least get well underway. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. I was watching Hegseth's confirmation hearing, and they were talking about one of the senators who's also former military said, that we could fix the Army in about a year or two because guns and bullets don't cost that much, and we could fix the Air Force in maybe 5 years. But he said that our Navy is decades out of where it should be. And I've got a guy that I went to college with. We've been great friends ever since then. So I mean, we've been friends for going on 30 years, and he's been in the Coast Guard for most of that time. And we talked about that after it happened, and he said that's true. He said the our shipbuilding has been just woeful. So we're going to have to, which Republicans have not historically been good at showing folks that they can walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. So they're going to have to really get better in this term to figure out how to walk and chew gum, and to do multiple things at once. And but I'm hopeful. I think he's built a cabinet that is full of some really, really confident and conscientious people. Years ago, because I've been into politics pretty much my whole life. So years ago, when I was in college with a guy that was a German national, and he was here studying, and he ended up staying, and he's been a naturalized citizen now. And we talked many years later after his naturalization test. And I remember he said, after his naturalization, we were talking, I was congratulating him on his now being an American citizen. And he said, I had to study your history for that exam, right? And he said, I have to say, as someone who wasn't born here, it's fascinating to me that early in your country's history, you had all of these statesmen that were extremely successful men at a various number of things, whether they were businessmen or lawyers or whatever they were doing. And then they felt a call to civic duty, and they became statesmen. He said, and I don't know when it happened in your history as a nation, but then you started having a political class. And from what I can tell as an outsider looking in, who's now an insider, it seems to me that was the beginning of the end. Was now you started having these people like Obama, let's be honest, or Biden and Obama have never done anything except work for the public sector. And he said that seems from his study to be the kind of nail in the coffin. And I thought that was really interesting coming from someone who was born outside of the United States.
That's a valid point. I think he was onto something there.
Yeah, for sure. I think right now he's talking about the border and
inner cities.
the terrible illegal immigration that's happening under the Biden administration, or that has happened. And
As commander-in-chief, I have
Probably somewhere that, again, folks that I've heard that are close to DC, probably somewhere 15 to 20 million in 4 years. That's incredible.
that's a lot, man.
So can I throw a curveball out here, guys?
Yeah, go for it.
I saw a little while ago there was a push to make Alex Jones the White House spokesperson. How
The press
How
secretary.
press secretary? Yeah, how entertaining would that be?
I mean,
Well,
content
I
would be
gotta
really
say,
easy.
I gotta say that if Alex Jones was the press secretary, it would.
Have you seen he's lost a ton of weight? Actually, he looks great.
No, but content would be really easy.
It would be.
It
Oh
would
yeah.
be really easy.
In fairness,
It
it
might-
couldn't be worse than the two that Biden had. I mean,
Yeah.
the redhead and then Karine Jean-Pierre or whatever her name was. They were both awful.
Yeah, just
Absolutely awful.
they just stood up and lied in front of what, millions of people every day. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what their ratings are. Probably not that many
Which,
people anymore.
to bring some of the Bible into this, I was telling my son the other day, because he struggles sometimes with truth telling, and I was telling him, the Bible says, son, that there is a person that lies because it's his native language, and that those who lie like it's nothing, they're only doing like their dad does. And he's like, oh, he got all excited, and he was like, who's that? And I said, well, it's the devil. And then he got less excited. So.
That's funny.
That's a good burn right there. You set him up for that one.
Well, he's 5, so I can still outwit my 5-year-old. I don't know how
Right.
excited I should be about that.
Yeah, hey, I just want to talk to the people listening right now. If you guys haven't, we'd really appreciate if you followed or subscribed and did the whole social media thing. Share it with a couple people. We're all 3 of us are actually trying to grow our channels and stuff. So if you're appreciating the content, if you think it's valuable, we'd appreciate the help of reaching more people.
While you're doing that, Parker, go ahead and tell them where they can find you, and then Brandon, you next.
Yeah, well, you can find me at Real Parker Brown on X, and then I actually help host a podcast. You can find it, pretty much anywhere you consume audio content. Spotify, Apple, all the audio podcast platforms, and then I also have a YouTube channel, so you can find that at the Watchwell Podcast. Watchwell is one word with two capitalized W's. The Watchwell Podcast, and the idea is that every narrative that you put together, specifically plots and movies, must rely on fundamental eternal truths, and those truths can be found in Scripture, and they only can be coherent inside of a Christian worldview. So essentially what we do is we take movies and then we just observe the truths that Hollywood in their Christless worldview steals and borrows from our worldview. And we ultimately want to just bring back an active viewing of media, entertainment, bring it back under the feet of Christ. Yeah, and just point that out. So that's where you can find me. YouTube, the Watchwell Podcast. Watchwell, one word, two capital W's. And I appreciate the support.
Federal government.
Awesome, Brandon.
Administration.
Well, Parker, you also forgot to mention a service that you offer, a business that you have.
Oh yeah, if you're a content creator, I have a production company. It's called Vindicated Productions, and we help edit content for businesses and people. So we offer that. So you can find that at www.vindicatedproductions.com. Thanks, Brandon.
And you can, you're welcome, bro. And you can tell just by Parker's setup there that he does things with excellence. And yeah, it's just a matter of time, bro.
Thanks,
and you're
man.
gonna build your clientele up.
When I can hire somebody, I'm gonna hire you as my chief marketing person. You're always throwing my name out there, and I appreciate it. Appreciate your friendship and your encouragement, man. So
thank you. Well, you can find not really me, but you can find my channel, Eschatology Matters. You just type in Eschatology Matters. We do not have great production values, and we just kind of wing it. Still don't know what I'm doing, but God has been good, and He's blessed us. And we have eschatological content. We have current events. We kind of do everything just because eschatology actually encompasses right now, and it encompasses the past, and it's about the future. And so, and Christ is Lord of everything, so He's Lord of politics. So even this discussion, I believe, is eschatological in nature, just because it's leading somewhere, and it's part of God's plan, and it's part of God's kingdom. And so that's kind of the thinking behind why we cover things more broadly than just, millennial views or when and if the rapture is going to take place and things like that. So you can find us on Eschatology Matters.
And just for those who may not know what eschatology is, Brandon, could you break that down quickly?
Eschatology is just the study of the end things. But again, once you dig into that, you can't understand the end of a story if you don't understand how the story began. And so we kind of take a whole Bible approach to the end things, and we like to start at the beginning. And one thing that we say often is it's from Genesis to Revelation. That God is telling a story. It matters because everyone is in that story. Everyone watching this, Corey, Parker, me, we're all play a part in God's story that He is telling, and it's occurring in history, and we're part of history. And so it matters to everyone. And that's kind of the approach that we take.
And that includes President Trump. So, I mean, I know that there's a lot of people, and I'd love to get both of your takes on it here in just a second. I know there's a ton of people in the Christian world, certainly in the Reformed world, that were very much back and forth on, can we vote for a man like Donald Trump? And there was a ton of yes, and there was a ton of no. And, I talked about that quite a bit on my channel. My channel does a lot of politics and stuff anyway, but, and I said, I go back to Ezra and Nehemiah so often. And I think that part of scripture is so prescient to kind of where we are as a nation, that Israel was all broke down, and, things were not good, and their borders weren't secure. I mean, it was a mess. And then Ezra and Nehemiah go back to start rebuilding Israel's defenses, their wall, the temple, and both of them and another gentleman by the name of Zerubbabel, which is again one of my all-time favorite Bible names. If I thought my wife would go for it and we had another son, I would almost be tempted to name him Zerubbabel just so I could say it. Just like I'd love to daily have a reason to say that name. But those were the three chief players in that time in Israelite history. And of all the people that God could have used to kind of spearhead that whole movement, it was the Persian king Artaxerxes. So here's this pagan king from a pagan kingdom who pays for these Jewish men to go back and start to rebuild Jerusalem. And no one saw any of that coming except God, and well, a few of the prophets at the time. And I talked about that in an interview I just did last week with the Based Boomer. There's a connection between our channel and Eschatology Matters. The Based Boomer, who has a great show on Eschatology Matters, came on to talk about his most recent book, which is all about Donald Trump and how we go back to find the way forward. And that he believes, and he's pretty much got me convinced that we are in the midst of what's going to be a wonderful reformation, even spiritual reformation. And I'm praying for that. So if you're watching this and you're a Christian, I would invite you to pray with us as well, that God would be merciful. We don't deserve his mercy. Our nation has been horrid and done some terrible, terrible things. But I'm reminded in Daniel chapter 9 that and Daniel 7, 8, and 9 actually, that Daniel was praying, and it says that he was repenting of his sins and the sins of his people. So there's a wonderful illustration in scripture, and he's not the only one who does this, who corporately says, Lord, forgive us, we've been awful, and then begs and pleads for the mercy of God. So join us in doing that. I would love that if you would. And hopefully,
Well, and that's actually sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, that's a good segue into a conference that's coming up. Can we talk about the conference, Corey?
Yeah. I've been promoting that in a lot of my videos. We hadn't talked about it yet today. So, and you're gonna say it's in a different town, but I went to the website and it said Monclova.
Yeah, that's right. It's Monclova, Ohio, and it's right near where White House. It's like kind of bordering, so it's kind of the same area. But Monclova, Ohio. And the Clear Truth Dangerous Friends Conference. I think all of us are going, right?
Yeah.
Brandon's going.
Yeah, I'll be there.
So if anybody out there wants to come meet us, Monclova, Ohio, the
March 13th and
14th. Thank you, Corey. Yep. And there's gonna be a whole bunch of speakers. Steve Deese and
Jamie Bambrick, Rosaria Butterfield.
Yep, you got him, man.
Pastor Michael Foster. The guy that has the White Rose Rebellion, and I can't remember his name, but
Roseman. Gruber. I think Roseman's going to be there now.
Gruber.
Yeah, Seth Gruber.
So yeah, it's gonna be a dynamite couple of days.
Rob McCoy,
and then of course your pastor. Go ahead and give him a name drop.
Stephen Whitlow.
Yes, Pastor Stephen Whitlow.
Pastor Stephen Whitlow is going to be speaking. So it's going to be a great time, guys. I think Corey will link the website for you to buy tickets. And Corey, why don't you tell them your promo code?
Yeah. So if you go to dangerousfriends25.com, that's dangerousfriends25.com, you can order your tickets for this wonderful conference. You can use the promo code CivEccly, just like how I spell my show, CivEccly25 for $25 off your tickets. And of course, both of these lovely gentlemen also have promo codes, but by golly, this is my live stream.
That's right.
So CivEccly25 will get you $25 off your tickets. And seriously, it's a wonderful way to start the first quarter of the new year to get some dangerous friends who will have your back and will kind of look out for you and give you the way that I've been promoting it here on my channel is, that what we need now more than ever are the timeless truths of God's word and some dangerous friends that have our back. And I can tell you the two men on this screen with me today are two of my dangerous friends who have proven over the last few months that they have my back. And I will also give some serious credit where credit's due on Vindicated Productions. If you like the way that Civically Minded looks, the lighting, the video, all of that. Parker Brown has helped me kind of dial that in. He helped me get this live stream up and running and figure some of the bugs out that we were having before we went live today. So Parker's the real deal. He is he makes, man, if you haven't went and watched some of his videos or some of his shorts, they are fantastic. And the video quality, mwah, chef's kiss, I'm telling you.
Thank you, bro.
And then Eschatology Matters. What can I say? I mean, yes, some of you that know are going to say that I am not unbiased because I'm a contributor for their channel, which is true. And I said in one of the videos that I made, I think it was first video I made this year, I was given my highs and lows for 2024. And on my list of highs, one of the best things that happened all last year for me was getting asked to come and be a part of Eschatology Matters and be just a small contributor to their channel. I believe in what they do. I'm honored to be able to call those men my friends, and to see how much they reach across the aisle. And even when, things are ugly, Brandon and Josh and all the men over there have really tried everything they can to be a place for, reason and sound minds to come and talk things through. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. For sure.
In America, the impossible is what we do best.
Let's see what President Trump's saying here.
From New York to Los Angeles, from Philadelphia to Phoenix, from Chicago to Miami, from Houston to right here in Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
Our country was forged and built by the generations of patriots who gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. They were farmers and soldiers, cowboys and factory workers.
Part of this sounds like his speech from last night, but that's all right.
Yeah, it does. That's one thing about Trump is he does repeat the same vision over and over. So you listen to him, a handful of times, and you can kind of know what's coming.
I gotta say though, when I took speech class, both in high school and then again in college, there's a lot of classic speech patterns that are happening there. That the old adage when I was in school was any good speech is going to be, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to tell you what I told you.
Yeah.
So because people are forgetful, and so I don't mind that he kind of bangs that drum.
We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So to every parent who dreams for their child and every child who dreams for their future, I am with you. I will fight for you, and I will win for you. We're going to win like never before.
And the big thing about that is we've seen it, right? So I know the parties hate each other and there's constant bashing, in the whole partisan trope or, whatever you would call that. But his first term is evidence that he did that. Gas was cheaper, business was booming, the economy was through the roof, the best in however long.
Oh, really? And since we started recording such things. Yeah.
Right.
Now that brings me to a topic that I'd love to discuss. With all the changes that he's promising through this new cabinet and through, the Department of Government Efficiency and some of that other stuff, we were, Parker, you and I were on a Christmas live stream with Greg Moore with Dead Men Walking, and he had Attorney Davis Yance on. And Davis Yance said if he were earmarked for Attorney General, which of course he was not, but if he were, that he would have got rid of day one the DOJ completely, just gone. And then he gave some wonderful reasons as an attorney as to why that could be done and not really hurt us as a nation. So here's my question for both of you. And Parker, you can go first, and then Brandon. How would you feel if the IRS was completely eradicated? Now, before you get too excited, if the IRS was eradicated and Trump instituted some kind of a flat tax, like for corporate individual, just a flat tax that if you are in, you're a consumer of products and services and goods, you pay a flat tax, and then there's no more income tax.
I mean, I guess if he can balance the budget and attack the debt, I would be for it. I don't know. I guess I would need to know a little bit more about the intricacies of how that would practically play out. Where, um, yeah, I mean, on the surface, I would say I would be in, but I would love to know a little bit more to be sure. Does that make sense?
No, I completely understand that. And when I think about that, and Brandon, I'll get to you in just a second. When I think about that, we have in this country what's called a progressive tax system, and
Mhm.
and that's such a weaponization of words. Everyone loves progress, so you
It's
use a
often
term
in the
like
wrong way, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
you use a term like progressive tax structure, and that's supposed to let people think that it's all up, up, up. And that's somewhat true. It is up, 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 meaning progressive. When they say progressive, what it means is the tax structure is tiered. So depending on how much you make, you're
It
going to
pen
have
yeah, it
more tax.
penalizes you as you make more.
That's right. So as you earn more, you pay more. So the concept, the idea that somehow we have this trope that the Democrats love to throw out there all the time of let the wealthy pay their fair share. Holy cow, the wealthy pay way more than their fair share. I mean, it's a
Hmm.
ludicrous concept
Yeah, what
to
is it,
think
like,
that
nine
the wealthy
upwards of
don't pay.
90% or more or something like that of all taxes paid by, what, the 1% or something like that?
It's a ludicrous number. I mean, it's offensive, honestly, and it's such gaslighting to throw that out there. So the concept of a flat tax would be that all the corporations and individuals, everyone that again uses goods or services would pay, say 20%, 25%, what have you, as a flat tax. And then the government, whether it's state or federal, they leave your income alone. Whatever you earn is your money. And to me, I just see that as much more of a fair system. But Brandon, I'd love to get your take before I expound on that.
No, I was just going to agree with you heartily that we have one of the most progressive tax systems in the entire world. And yeah, it's a lie, and it's a trope that the rich don't pay their fair share here because they pay more than their fair share. Um, I'm for a flat tax. It streamlines everything immensely. It makes things. It takes a extraordinarily complex system and simplifies it greatly. I think the problem you're going to have is that I don't know how you're going to get past the hurdle of the low income people in this country because they're basically the way that it's set up helps support them. And if you base it all off of income, and the people that don't have an income or very low income are going to say, well, hold on a second, we're not getting the breaks that we used to get. For instance, what I'm thinking of is um, it's not it's not uncommon for someone who doesn't earn very much, especially if they're a single parent, to get a ton of money at tax time through tax breaks and all that. That would end, and I think there would be such an uproar that I don't know how they're going to get past that. So that's my thoughts initially.
Well, I think, and I don't think you're wrong there. I think at some point you have to get a population, and this goes back to our founding fathers who said that the Constitution that they created, and I think we're pretty much through here. They're getting ready to do the benediction, so I'm going to remove them and get down to kind of our final thoughts. So let me. There we go. All right, so I would say that if you get back to our founding fathers who said that they created a constitution that is completely for a moral and upright people and it is completely unfit for anyone else, and you keep that in the back of your mind, well, we are so far afield from being a morally upstanding people that the poor, because even the Lord said that the poor will always be with you, so the poor that can't help being poor, for whatever the various reasons, um, that's always there. And it's not the government's job necessarily to take care of them. It's not even and then people say, well, it's the church's job. Again, chapter and verse on that, please. I don't know that you'll have much luck finding that in scripture either. What you will see in scripture is that individuals care for individuals. So that Christ has told us to be generous and compassionate and things like that. So if we look out for the, one of the things that's repeated over and over again in scripture is to look out for the fatherless and the widow, the orphan, the widow, the people that can't care for themselves, then it is our responsibility to help care for those that can't care for themselves. So if we do that, and they're taken care of at a much more stable rate, and again, it's hard to explain exactly what I mean by that, but then what you're talking about, Brandon, is say a 20 or 25% flat sales tax, the poor still do purchase things, so they get whatever amount of money they get from whatever resources they get it from, and then their goods and services would still be taxed at that same rate that everyone else gets taxed at now, through a flat tax rate, and then the playing field really is evened out at that point, instead of, because uh, all three of us, I believe, Parker, I know that you are a homeowner. I am a homeowner. Brandon, do you own your home or you rent? I think you're muted.
Okay. Uh, basically own. So I am buying my house that my parents owned for years, but I'm delaying it because I'm getting a pretty good interest rate off of their interest rate.
I don't
So
I don't blame you. And
yeah,
again,
so
not trying to pry into your personal life. I only
no, I
bring
don't
that
care.
up because then you're talking property taxes too. So it can be said, well, of course you have to pay property taxes because by golly you own property, and that's well, but no one stops anyone from owning property, right? I mean that's property ownership is just strictly about those who can wield the resources to do it. But
Well, real
then,
quick, can I jump in?
yeah, please,
Just real quick.
please.
And if you actually tax property, you don't actually ever own it
That's exactly where I was headed with that.
because you're renting it. So like you could pay your house off and then you rent your property essentially from the government for the rest of your life. You can't actually like own it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
and then you have, the increase and decrease appreciation and all that. So it's just I can see where you're going, and I just want to clarify. My original statement was I was thinking more like if you were to just institute this overnight, which I would agree with a flat tax compared to what we have now. I just am not sure how we. What I'm not sure is how we actually handle everything else while also doing that in terms of balancing the budget and getting out of our country out of debt,
Yeah.
those kinds of things. So
Yeah.
that's all I was speaking to.
So early, and most people don't know this, early on in America's history, and I'm talking like the first 100+ years, most of the federal budget was taken care of by foreign tariffs.
Yeah, by the tariffs. That's right.
And again, so when President Trump talks about he's going to institute heavy tariffs, that's not new. I mean, it's new in the modern American context, but historically speaking, that's how we paid for things. That is how this nation got by for many, many years. And it was really well into the 70s before our national debt got anywhere close to the kind of out of control mess that it is. And it wasn't even then, it still wasn't anything like what we've got now. But I mean, if I challenge any of you that are still watching, we got about 51 of you on right now watching. Go and Google that. Go and Google what national debt looked like for most of American history. It was not until, I mean, almost my lifetime. I was born in 1978, so it was almost my lifetime, maybe shortly before I was born, that our national debt started to kind of skyrocket up to the points that it's currently sitting. Prior to that, balanced budgets, even at the federal level, they weren't that unheard of. So it begs the question, kind of, what happened? I mean, and you're talking prior to the 1970s. You can say, well, yeah, but what did we really do? Well, two world wars, and Korea and Vietnam and the Panama Canal, and I mean, my goodness, Hoover Dam, all kinds. There were huge, infrastructure projects. Most of the interstate system was done under Eisenhower. So I mean, gigantic infrastructure projects that got done prior to our national debt exploding the way that it has in the last 40 to 50 years. Thoughts?
Well, I think you can look at things on the state level too. I mean, I'm here in Indiana, which we run a surplus every year in our budget. I'm not sure how long. I know it's been for quite some time that we've had a surplus. And right next door in Illinois, they are so far in debt that it's actually kind of like at the federal level, it's almost unimaginable how they can dig their way out of it. And so I think that it's going to take some time for some consistent conservative economic strategies to be implemented. I know I'm getting a little off on what you were getting at, Parker, but I also think that part of switching to the flat tax would eliminate a lot of the bloat and the problems getting to paying off the budget. Because I mean, I don't know how much it costs to fund the IRS, and then by extension, everything that is involved with it outside of that. And that's just one little piece, of this gigantic puzzle. And you really streamline it where you get it down to where it's just basically a bunch of money getting put into one pot. I mean, I feel like it's going to be, I'm not an economist, but I feel like that's going to simplify things. And when you simplify things, you can actually get your head around it quite a bit easier. So
Yeah, and then I would actually, jumping off on that, I would actually ask you guys who gets to decide the percentage.
Well, I mean,
that would have to be Congress, right?
yeah,
Well,
whether
Sorry.
it was
but,
Congress or,
like, I understand like the authority structure. I'm just saying like who says 10% is correct or 20% is correct, or where do we find that?
well, again, if we go back to scripture, which I mean, I think that might be where you were pointing at, but maybe not. If you go back to scripture, God Himself says 10% for Him. Of course, in the Old Testament tithe and things like that. And I think that there's a lot of biblical subtext there that would, and I'm not the only guy that thinks this. There's a lot of pastors and theologians that have said as much. There's a lot of subtext there that would say, if God Himself says, "I'll only take 10%, leave 90% for you to take care of," then anything above 10%, quite honestly, is Caesar, and I'm using that as the broad term for all government. Then Caesar is basically saying that I stand above God, which that's what Caesar is always saying. Let's be brutally honest. There
Mhm.
is no neutrality. There is only, as Doug Wilson says, Christ or chaos. So it's not who you will serve or whom you will serve, or whether you will serve someone. It's whom you will serve. Um, so anything above 10%, the Bible seems to kind of elucidate that, that's someone saying, I even stand above God. But I agree with both of you pragmatically. We've got ourselves into such a predicament just through our own corruption, our own sin, that, you know, doing something that drastic, would just, I mean, it would be untenable, at least for the short to medium term. That's why I said early on when we got on, an hour ago, that one of the things I'm probably most excited about in the new administration is this Department of Government Efficiency. If they can do even half of what they have bragged about maybe doing, and I say bragged about doing, Elon Musk has kind of done a proof of concept. He did it at X.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, when he took over X was a bloated just mess. I mean, it was
Mhm.
it was a disaster. And he went in, he streamlined it, he's made it one of, if not the most successful social media platform in the world. It's now where a ton of people go to get their news. I mean, it is amazing what he's turned X into. And you may not like X. I mean, I guess all of you that are watching are now watching on X because we got kicked off YouTube. Thank you, YouTube. But if you're watching on X. And so X has become a platform that I think for us as Christians has been a huge godsend.
Mhm.
I think it's been a wonderful boon to kind of us getting a message out, whether it's a message like this or just simple gospel stuff. But yeah, he's given a proof of concept that you can go in and liquidate wholesale, jobs that are just pointless, and entire divisions of companies that just are bloated and not, just wasting money. And you can actually make a company more streamlined and it works better. So I'm excited about that probably more than anything.
Yeah, and
Hey,
that's not even. Go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
oh, sorry. I was just going to ask. I mean, I don't know how long you guys planned on going, but Parker, did you plan on taking some comments from people watching or anything before we get off here? Or
Yeah, I just don't see any.
okay, I can't see, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if we had somebody comment, then yeah, for sure. I'm sure Corey would want to do that, but we lost Lindsay
Nope.
because she was watching on YouTube.
Nope. I can't stand our viewers. I'm really like, I'm really anti viewers. So sometimes I look at my growth vector on YouTube and I think that might be true. But no, and we have been going a little over an hour. The inauguration is officially over. So we can start to wrap this up. It's a Monday afternoon, and I know everybody's kind of got day jobs and things. So
before we switch gears, I want to ask. So we talked about Doge and laying off inefficiency wholesale, streamlining the process, taxes 10%, 20%. The biblical foundation for that. What about the small businesses and like CPAs and tax consultants and all these? What about all of the private jobs that we would lose if we made it a 10% tax or a 20%, fixed amount?
Brandon, you got thoughts on that? Okay. This will shock everyone. I do. I know you're all shocked by me having
Now,
thoughts
and
on
I
the
just want to
subject.
real quick just to clarify,
Sure.
I would choose smaller government over keeping those jobs and bigger government, right? I
Sure,
would
sure.
obviously choose that, but I often think, is there a backhanded effect that maybe we're not often talking about?
Yes. I mean, the simple answer to that is, of course, there is.
Mhm.
The broader answer to that, though, is proof of concept is out there as well, and that's called the free market.
Mhm.
So again, one of the things that's nice about being, closer to 50 than 20 is I've
No offense taken, brother.
no offense, Fetus. Yeah, even though Keith isn't here, no offense, Fetus. I've lived long enough to see Montgomery Ward go under, and Sears go under, and Kmart go under, and they, I mean, at one time, those companies, employed thousands, tens of thousands of Americans, and when they went under, Walmart grew, and then Amazon came online, and I mean, my goodness, how many, just those two people, or companies, pardon me, those two corporations, between Amazon and Walmart, how many tens of thousands, if not a million plus Americans probably, are employed by just those two corporations. So certainly, would we lose certain sectors of the job force, if we simplified our tax status here in America? Yes, obviously we would. But is the free economy, the laissez-faire, kind of old school classical free economy, is it built for such things? And my argument would be absolutely it is, and we've seen that for 200 plus years, coming on 250 years, that we've seen proof of concept that a free market economy, when left alone and unobstructed by bureaucratic forces, whether that's in Washington or elsewhere, it will right the ship, and it will do so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree, but I also wanted to ask the question, so.
No, it's a great question. I do like that you've co-hosted, brother. I'm loving that. I love that we are close enough that you just jump in. I love that. Thank you for this, by the
Hey,
way.
anytime, brother.
Appreciate it. And you both threw it up on X, so I don't know what I would have just, YouTube would have kicked us off, and I'd have been like, well, that was fun. So thank you both for helping out with that. Any other topics that we want to fix the world in any other ways before we let the 52 folks that are still with us? And thank you. I was joking earlier. We love our viewers and the people that interact with us, whether it's on X, YouTube, Insta, or any of the other socials. Thank you for we wouldn't keep doing this if no one listened. So we really do appreciate all of you out there. I know we talked about it not that long ago, but maybe someone's logged on that wasn't on. So as we wrap up here, Parker and Brandon, why don't you just real quick give a shout out to where you can be found in your socials and your channels, plug those one more time. And I want to say thank you guys for being a part of this.
Brandon, you can go first, brother.
All right, you can find us at Eschatology. I mean, if you just go to YouTube, I don't know what any of my handles are, so just type in Eschatology Matters on YouTube, or if you type in Eschatology Matters Apple, we're on podcasting, so you can see us on Spotify, Apple, anywhere that you can stream podcasts. We do have a website, but we don't really do anything with it anymore. That's eschatologymatters.org. And you can find me on Twitter or X at eschatology 22, I think it is. Or just type in Eschatology Matters.
Eschatology 22. That's correct.
Okay. And yeah, that's where you can find us. And I usually, if nothing else, I will say some really stupid things on X, and I usually get a message or two at least once a week from Josh Howard saying, "Bro, what are you thinking? You should probably delete that." So if you want to catch some of my really stupid thoughts before I delete them, keep a close eye on our X account, because you never know what I'm going to say. So
before Josh reins you back in,
I mean, he's the reasonable one, I tend to fly off the handle a little bit, but I think that's what gives us a pretty good dynamic, a theologian and a blue collar worker, So it's an interesting dynamic, and I think that helps us get a breadth. We cover some of the very simplistic things, and we can go really deep. So that's just a strength that God has given us.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, and then you can find me. I'm on YouTube. Please head over, subscribe. The Watch Well podcast. Watch Well is one word. And we review movies through the lens of truth, and we observe what Hollywood steals. They steal our worldview, or at least the truths of our worldview, makes their worldview incoherent. And we just point that out in the movies that we watch. Movies have a great effect on culture, and we want to, I guess, bring that back under the feet of Christ. Watch movies from a biblical lens. And then we're also everywhere you can consume podcast content, Apple, Spotify, even all the ones that no one has ever heard of. So go check us out there. We've got a bunch of stuff on our YouTube channel that's more than just the podcast. So we differentiate there. So if you want to find fun, interesting content, see us there. And then if you are a content creator and you need help editing, vindicatedproductions.com, and send me an email.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
And you can find me on X too, at Real Parker Brown.
Awesome. Both these guys are the real deal. If you're not following them here on X or on YouTube, go check them out.
Dangerous Friends.
Dangerous Friends, March 13th and 14th, Monclova. Pardon me, I was saying Clava. Monclova.
Monclova,
Ohio. Come join all three of us and your other dangerous friends. I believe Keith Foskey is coming.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be, again, Pastor Michael Foster, Rosaria Butterfield, Jamie Bambrook, the Blaze TV's own Steve Dace, and a number of others. Come join us. And Greg Moore, pardon me. Greg's
coming. There's just really the big thing that I want to say about the conference. And I've learned this past year attending Fight Laugh Feast is like some of the best people attend, and some of the relationships that you don't necessarily realize that you're going to cultivate by just going. You meet different people, and they're just irreplaceable. They're invaluable relationships. You make some of the best friends, and then you can stay connected because you're all over the place, right? Brandon's in Indiana, Corey's in North Carolina, and we all met at Fight Laugh Feast. So I would just say take the risk, come to the conference, meet some awesome people, and yeah, do the relationship community thing. It's going to be a great time.
Absolutely. So go to dangerousfriends25.com, dangerousfriends25.com to order your tickets. Be sure to put in the promo code CivEccly25 for $25 off your ticket. That's CivEccly, just how I spell it, 25 for $25 off the tickets. And we hope to see you March 13th and 14th in Monclova, Ohio for Dangerous Friends. And thank you for tuning in today. May God bless America. May God bless Donald J. Trump. And boys, I love you both. I'm grateful for your friendships, and I'll see you next time.
See ya. Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it.
I'm Corey Wing.